Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Glasgow for the MSEM format. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching the semifinals match between BluesEclipse, who is on blue-white artifact tempo, and Chumbeque, who is on red-white lucky tokens. So Blues is going to start off by playing a Plains, tapping it for this 2-1 veteran Life Forger, and then returning the land to his hand to play a Lumen Bay Flyer line. Meanwhile, Chumbeque is going to turn 1 run out his signature enchantment, Newcomer's Luck. So Newcomer's Luck is essentially gives a creature +2/+1 when it enters the battlefield, but it doesn't give the creature haste. Chumbeque's deck is focused on creating lots of hasty tokens to maximize Newcomer's Luck Anthem potential. Meanwhile, Blues is playing a similarly aggressive deck, but it also plays lots of interaction and plays cards like Nightwatch Rallier, which grow your artifacts, as well as cards like Wonderkind, which allow you to draw basically all the artifact cards at the top of your library and then turn them all into 5/5s. Both these players did play earlier in the Swiss portion of this tournament, with Chumbeque taking it 2-0, mainly because Chumbeque was just able to get under Blues' interaction and create a wide board. Also, Chumbeque's sideboard is heavily teched out for this matchup, with Chumbeque having 4 of an artifact wipe. So I think while main Blues might be able to overrun Chumbeque with these veteran Life Forgers, I think out of the sideboard, Chumbeque's definitely has the advantage. So Blues just going to swing in with this veteran Life Forger, and Chumbeque going to play a Rabid Thrill, yet another buff enchantment. So now if Chumbeque plays hasty creatures, they will get +4/+0. The problem is the Rabid Thrill downside could really be a problem, especially since Blues has a good clock on Chumbeque. Yeah, it's going to swing in for 4 more. And the mana up probably singles that Blues has an Artificer's Persuasion, which is essentially tax for 4 if you control an artifact. Chumbeque's going to try and run out of Siguratam. If this resolves, Blues gets hit for a massive 15 damage right here. Fortunately for Blues, he does have the Artificer's Persuasion, and that means Chumbeque will not get to resolve the Siguratam. And Blues continues to maintain the beatdown. You tap out Nightwatch Rallier X=2? No, a Wonderkind Devising, which isn't as doesn't contribute as much to the aggro plan as the veteran Life Forgers do, or as a Nightwatch Rallier would. But it's still really good for his... Blues is down to 2 cards in hand. This Wonderkind Devising will be able to start drawing Blues cards, specifically because Blues casts his Northern Express line to put it to 1 counter. Notably though, Blues is tapped out, so if Chumbeque has a second Siguratam, could completely flip this into his favor. Well, that's not a Siguratam, that's another Planeswalker, an Ealtazin. Could shoot one of these veteran Life Forgers, or make a giant token. No, it's just gonna +2 shock himself and kill one of the Life Forgers. On upkeep, Blues is gonna draw up to 3 cards off of this Wonderkind Devising. So it looks like they're aligned the Astrolabe, Ocean Monastery, and Plains, so unfortunately Blues will actually draw no cards here because none of them are artifacts. So they just get milled off the top. That is good for Blues still, though, because it clears off the top of his library. Okay, gonna replay the Plains that he bounced last turn. Tap another 4. Wonderkind Devising number 2. But doesn't have a way to turn it on, so he's just gonna have to swing for 2 with the veteran. Gonna put Ealtazin down to 2 counters. Chumbeque can now just untap and kill the veteran Life Forger, though. And he's gonna play out a Goblin Raid Leader. Unfortunately, the tokens it creates don't have haste, but they technically are. Oh, but they technically are tapped and attacking. So then he's gonna +2 Ealtazin, shock himself once again, kill the Life Forger. Next turn, the Ringleader attacks in for 4, and then creates a 5-power creature of its own. So let's see what Blues hits off the Wonderkind Devising. Phyrexian Arcforger, Sparking Automaton, and a land. So it draws 2 off of that. And the Sparking Automaton is particularly... or both of them are pretty good, but then... actually, the Phyrexian Arcforger is probably just the bomb here. because it creates tokens which can chump lots of what Chumbeque has. Doesn't quite have the mana to run Sparking Automaton into Phyrexian Arc Forger though. Ooh, he's gonna play the Sparking Automaton first. Oh, I guess has a Reflecto Automaton. Feel like that was. Feel like this might have been a mistake. I guess Blues is thinking that he's at 18 life, so he doesn't quite care. But on end, yeah, gonna Rogar's Frenzy the Sparking Automaton. So now, with Blues not having those blockers, Chumbeque, even though Chumbeque only has one card in hand, if Chumbeque like untaps and lands a Siguratam, could just kill Blues out of nowhere right here. Of course, could also brick with one of Chumbeque's many enchantments. That's the problem with this deck. Very A plus B. Has another Goblin Raid Leader. And then gonna exile Rogar's Frenzy, create 2 elemental tokens. They don't have haste though. And then is gonna -3 Ealtezen. Oh, that's a good point. Gives all creatures +2/0 in haste. So gonna swing for a terrifying amount. And the Goblin Raid Leaders also create tapped and attacking tokens. So since everything has a +5, yeah, does that just kill Blues? My god. Let's see, because each of these tokens swings in for a whopping 7. Okay, so it's 7 for the elemental tokens. The goblins swing in for 5, and then the raid leaders swing in for 6 each. Yeah, that's eminently lethal. Yeah, I guess with that many Anthem effects, you really only need a few creatures to just doink your opponent. And Blues almost got there too. I really think if he'd played the Phyrexian Arc Forger and had the chump blockers up there, it would have been better. Because he already had all of the rail lines to create artifact tokens with. But I think Blues got a little too comfortable at 18 life and was like, I can just play the Sparking Automaton, and then when I curve that into Arc Forger, it's going to grow huge, and I'm going to get so many Scry triggers off of this off of the Scry artifact. But yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. And I think Blues really needed to win that first game, because as we're going to see when looking at the sideboards, Chumbeque has a massive advantage on its sideboard with 3 Smelt, 4 Desecrate Antiquities. The Desecrate Antiquities in particular are really oppressive, because being at instant speed makes it much harder for Blues to play around them, even with counter magic. They're definitive board wipes, plus the idols that they create for Chumbeque allow Chumbeque to subsequently win lots of the combats, because Blues' creatures are small on their face if they don't have like the artifact synergy engines lined up, so it's incredibly brutal. Blues' sideboard doesn't have as much that is crazy. The negates are really good in this matchup, as are the Once Shunned, but nothing much else is good. Like, Fate Intimus can kill a token, but you don't want to trade 1 for 1 with a token, because you're essentially trading a single card for 0.5 or even less of a card. Yeah, Blues is only really going to bring in the negate and the Once Shunned, but yeah, this matchup goes crazily in Chumbeque's favor out of the board. So we might be en route to another 2-0 for Chumbeque. So Blues on the play once again is going to float white by playing a Plains, then play a Lumen Bay Flyer line by bouncing the Plains, and then play Self-Replication, which, because Blues now controls this Lumen Bay Flyer line, creates 2 Construct tokens. Blues' deck just has lots of cool synergies that way. But Chumbeque's like, my deck also got synergy. Here is the card that my entire deck is built around turn 1. Have fun. Now the question is, will the 2 negates that Blues sided in be enough interaction to put Chumbeque off his stride for the early game, while Blues continues to put on this beatdown with the constructs? And wow, it's literally the exact same curve as last time. I'm gonna run out of Rabid Thrill. But Blues is like, actually, I'm the token deck, playing Self-Replication number 2. Gonna be swinging in for 4 turn 3. And yep, Blues is gonna swing in for another 4. And now has mana up for basically any counter magic that Blues could want, as well as Once Shunned and Sand Scatter. If this is a Siguratam, I'm gonna scream, because it's gonna be the exact same curve out that Chumbeque had last time. No, it's gonna run an Ealtezen. Blues is gonna let this resolve. Chumbeque is gonna kill one of the tokens. Kind of a bad trade, honestly. Is this a Once Shunned? Interesting. He's gonna sand scatter his own token in response to use it as ramp. Maybe he really needed to get to 4 mana for either a Wonderkind devising or the Nightwatch Rallier X equals 2. I would imagine Nightwatch Rallier, because if you play Nightwatch Rallier X equals 2, Blues can just swing for 9 right here. That's 5 mana, because Blues is playing this Ocean Monastery untapped. Oh, but yeah, it was 4 mana for a Wonderkind devising. I'm gonna swing in for 3 at Isle or at face. I feel like at this point you just run face. Yeah, Blues is gonna hit face. And for 1 mana, what could Blues have open? Could have brought in the Dispels as well. I guess the Dispels do hit the artifact wipe that Chumbeque has. Blues does only have 1 card in hand though, so if you're Chumbeque, do you just risk it for the biscuit and run out something here? Like if Chumbeque has the artifact wipe. If Chumbeque doesn't have some good action here, then Blues is going to start drawing off this Wonderkind devising. So he's going to play a Passionate Congregation. Blues is going to let this resolve, which, you know, adds credence to the fact that, or like adds to the idea that Blues might have Dispel as his interaction. Going to swing in with the tokens, hits in for a massive 10. In response, is Blues' last card another self-replication? No, it is. He did bring in a Fade into Mists, so we'll only take 5 damage here. And that is a non-creature spell, so Wonderkind devising does go to 1. So even though Blues is empty-handed, we'll be refilling that real quick. Also has Chumbeque on a 3-turn clock at minimum, and if he top decks a Nightwatch Rallier off of this Wonderkind devising or off his normal draw, he just kills Chumbeque right here. And you're going to make it easier for that to happen. Blue's going to +1 Isle Tazen and then kill one of the tokens, shocking himself. I feel like at this point, if you're Chumbeque, you should just start shocking Isle Tazen herself, because you don't really care about keeping her alive. So draws a Veteran Life Forger, having to mill out a once shunned and Union Real Strikebreaker. Not sure if that's the best for Blues. It is another beater, but I feel like you want something more impactful right here. Veteran Life Forger gonna come down though. And then swing 2 at Blues' face. Or sorry, at Chumbeque's face. On end of turn, Rogar's Frenzy gonna kill the Veteran Life Forger. And this suddenly becomes a problem, because the next turn, Chumbeque untaps, exiles Rogar's Frenzy, uses Isle Tazen's -3, and Blues is in for a world of hurt. In fact, I think Blues just dies. So if Blues' last card in hand is a counterspell, Blues needs to run it out right now. I guess counter magic doesn't even matter, because it doesn't exile. So yeah, is Blues just dead here? Yup, is going to exile the Rogar's Frenzy, gets the elemental tokens. But what is Blues doing in response? What's that last card? But is going to Fade into Mists the Isle Tazen. That was a great play. So Isle Tazen can't give the Rogar's tokens haste. Can still swing in with this Cleric token for 3 though. So yeah, Chumbeque's just going to swing in for 3 with the Cleric, and has the Rogar's tokens as like blocking backup. On end, Isle Tazen returns. On upkeep, is gonna Wonderkind devising. Vedalken Machine is just not an artifact, so he doesn't draw it. He has to mill all 3 of these cards. And yeah, I feel like some of these cards are a little bit too cute, because they just don't work with the artifact. I mean, like, I guess these are all hoping to work with Artifact's energy, but sometimes I feel like you just need a higher As-Fan of Artifacts, especially when Blues is playing Artificer's Persuasion or other interaction like that. And like self-replication doesn't count as artifact because it creates an artifact. So yeah, it's just gonna whiff all 3 on the Wonderkind devising. Let's see what Blues top decked though. Tapping 4 mana, is it a Nightwatch Rallier? It is. Nightwatch Rallier X equals 2. So suddenly these constructs are 3/3s. He's gonna swing both of the constructs at face. Blues is forced to block at least one of these. Oh yeah, actually, Chumbeque can't block because of Rabid Thrill. Because even if Chumbeque tries to chump there, we'll still lose the life. So we're going to game 3. Yeah, and despite what I was saying earlier about Blues being disfavored out of the side, those Fade into Mists did surprisingly put in work. And Chumbeque just gonna play a Mountain and pass. Doesn't have the signature Newcomer's Luck turn 1 3 turns in a row, unfortunately. But also for the first time in this set, Blues also doesn't have a turn 1 play. Has always had a land plus a 1-drop plus a Lumen Bay. So Blues is gonna, or sorry, Chumbeque's gonna play a Passionate Congregation, create 2 Hasty Clericers. Doesn't have anything to buff them with, so they just swing in with 2 for 2. Blues meanwhile has a Union Rail Strikebreaker. Pretty good versus the tokens deck. Also has a Lumen Bay Flyer line, so it can make a construct token off of the Union Rail Strikebreaker. But Chumbeque has the Sigura Tam, and Blues doesn't have interaction up for it. So it can make 3 kitty cats and swing in. I think swinging in with everything, I guess Blues is just going to take it all, but I feel like that might have been a mistake because it makes Sigura Tam vulnerable to getting killed here. Or at least being put down 2. But if Blues untaps and plays Nightwatch Rallier X equals 1, then Sigura Tam just dies. And I don't think it significantly changes your clock if you hold back 1 Cleric. But it looks like Blues is just going to play a Brinefleet Bay, and then play an Interon Skycaster, and then swing in with the Brinefleet Bay by crewing it. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is another line which makes Chumbeque lose the Sigura Tam, but Chumbeque really should have just held back a Cleric token to be able to chump. Because now, unless Chumbeque has multiple Sigura Tams, guess not, but has a Warrior's Pride, and does have 4 mountains, so this is actually going to be a total of 4 damage. Actually, a total of 8 damage. And Blues just takes it. It's going to go down to 5. But yeah, like for example, if Chumbeque had just held up a Cleric as a blocker last turn, would have won the game right there by just playing Warrior's Pride, +1 Sigura Tam, kill Blues. Now Blues at least gets 1 more turn to try and figure stuff out, and can hold up these 3 creatures as blockers. In fact, can also Interon Skycaster can infini-block something by paying 2 to flicker itself after blocks. But Blues instead is going to play a Wonderkind Devising and then create a construct token, holding everything up as blockers, just in case Chumbeque has a Rogar's Frenzy, I guess. Like Rogar's Frenzy plus another token maker. Instead, Chumbeque's going to have a second Sigura Tam. One of these gets through for a total of 4 damage, or sorry, for a total of 4 damage. So Blues has to block and lose his entire board. See how Blues is going to lose his entire board, take 4, go to 1. And I don't know what answers Blues can have here, because Blues needs a once shunned for the Sigura Tam, and also needs some sort of answer for these Cleric tokens. Of course, still has 4 cards in hand, but doesn't draw anything off the Wonderkind Devising because he didn't actually cast a non-creature last turn. And yeah, Blues just saying GG. And ouch, Phyrexian Arcforger and Sparking Automaton. Wow, Chumbeque had a Warrior's Pride and an Aeltizen. Yeah, it looks like Chumbeque was just going to be winning that no matter what. But yeah, despite Blues being able to take a game this time, Chumbeque once again beats BluesEclipse in the rematch, and will be moving on to face Hersey Quersey, who's playing Green-Blue Landstorm, in the finals of Grand Prix Glasgow. Until we get to those finals, this is Caillou signing off for now.